Hello and welcome to the Beyond Borders virtual learning series where I, Ebony Walden, will teach you how to travel like a boss. So, this is session number 2 in the series. And in this session, I will talk about how to consciously build community and connection abroad. It's actually not the easiest thing to do. So, I want to give you some insights from my travel. So, a little bit about me. If this is your first time encountering my videos, my name is Ebony Walden. I have been to 46 countries now in all 50 states on 6 continents. I started my travel journey about 15 years ago on a solo trip around the world, and I have been traveling ever since. I am a coach to Black women trying to make bold moves that include travel so they can have expansive life. I do some DEI consulting as well, and I'm a content creator. New to the content creation, but hopefully you'll enjoy this and it'll be fun. So please subscribe and come back. So this is session number 2 in a 3 session series. Session number 1 was 2 parts. This session we're going to be talking about how to connect to culture, how to build community while you're abroad. The whole point of this 3-part series is for you to learn how to travel with confidence, to give you tools, to give you tips so you can have more transformative experiences internationally. So, recap of the first session, we went over travel archetypes. So, my thought is in order for you to figure out where you're going to go, you have to know who you are and the kind of traveler you are. So check that out. And these are the 5 tips, the categories of 5 solo travel tips. I call them boss moves. Is starting small. I listed my travel hacks, how to stay safe, how to connect, how to rest and reflect. So if those things are interested in you, go back to the first session. But let's dig into session number 2. So we'll talk about how to build connection and community abroad in a conscious way. So we'll talk about what are your travel goals, because in order to do that, in order to connect to people abroad, you have to figure out like what is your way of connecting with people? What do you value? And move from there. I'll explore some ideas for cultural engagement and connection, and you can learn my 5 conscious travel practices, right? So you'll leave with a new perspective and hopefully a practical plan for how to engage on your next trip. So I always start with a bit of reflection. So, how deep do you usually like to go when traveling? So, pick one of these because that will determine what kind of connection you want. And I'll give people options. Are you a tourist? You usually like comfort and convenience. Are you an explorer? You really want local insights and flavors, and you want structure. Are you a connector? You want meaningful moments and conversations balanced by some solo exploration. Are you a participator? Right? You want to engage, customs, support local business, and give back, or do you want to have fully immersive experience? Right? You want deep interaction, feel like you belong, really build community there. So we are these things different points at different. We are these things at different points in our lives and at different points. So you don't have to choose one, but where do you really fall generally? And then I want you to identify one moment that changed your travel perspective, right? And so an example was when I was in Peru. They have a lot of these street vendors, and one day I sat down and talked to one, and she said she worked the whole month to come down and sell her wares for the day, right? And previously I was there for 6 weeks. In my mind, these folks were nuisances. Like my middle name was no gracias, no gracias, no gracias. Right? I just want to be left alone. But then I gained some insight and understanding of this woman is trying to just make a living with her creativity and with the tools that she has. And so even if I don't want to buy her wares, I might be more likely to buy or from vendors, but be kind and understanding, right? I am coming into their space and to have a sense of, or just the idea of sitting down and talking to somebody from the place, change my perspective that I should do that more, not just kind of walk by people, right? So that's an example of those moments. I always like to dig deep. So you're going to get some travel tools, but you're also going to get some how do you make every experience, no matter where you are, a point of transformation. So we're going to talk about today my 5 pillars of conscious travel: mindful intention, cultural curiosity, community and connection, sustainability, and inner growth. But before we do that, I want you to connect to yourself again. You're going to need a pen and paper for all of my workshops. Um, let's identify your three travel values, right? What do you have? What's important to you when you travel? For me, it's curiosity. I really want to learn. I ask questions. I go on tours. I want to engage most of the time, unless I just was like, I want to disengage and spend the week on the beach. Even my beach trips, I'm like, I got to go out one day and see what the people doing, see where it's at. Engagement in culture, engagement in concert, conversation with locals, engaging in food. I always want to engage. And then with a sense of humility, I am coming into this space. So I want a learning posture, but also an open posture to say, hey, I don't want to come here thinking I know it all. I don't want to come here thinking my way of life is better. I want to have a sense of humility of how things are done here. And even if I don't like it or I agree with it, a sense of, this is a different take and perspective on humanity. So those are mine. Or I'll go back. What are yours? So identify those things that are really, really, really important to you, values when you travel, right? It could be a list, a host of things. So let's dig into my five conscious traveling pillars. But before that, I want you to write down your next trip location or what you're thinking or what you would want to do, because I'm going to help you build out like a plan for community and connection for your next trip. So think about the next travel location you want, and I want you to have that location in mind, get some tools and tips for moving forward. So, have mindful intentions is number one. So, you need to travel with purpose. Again, why are you going? What are you seeking? Was it rest, joy, clarity? And ground your experience in some kind of deeper meaning or deeper clarity. An example of, I went to Labrie, England. This was on my around the world trip, and basically I will have spent. It was the end of 3 months of my trip, so I would have been backpacking through Central and South America, and then for 6 weeks, and then 6 weeks backpacking through Europe. This was my last week. I knew I was going to be tired, and I'm an introvert, so I was like, how can I go find a rest? How can I reflect? And how can I pause? So I heard about Labrie, England. They asked, it's a retreat centers all over the world. They ask deep questions about life and purpose. And I took in that week of break to say, where had I seen God, and where had I just changed and been transformed so far. So just a bit of context, it was a 9-month trip. So this would have been almost about a third of my way through it, right? So I had the intention to read books, to engage people, to ask questions of myself, and to just be behind closed doors. For a week, I did not step out of that retreat center because I knew I needed that. So that was my intention for the trip. And I put throughout moments like that. You can do that for a day, right? You can do that for an overnight trip. You can do that for a weekend trip. Let me put some time and be intentional about the things I want about this trip. So, an exercise for you, and I will put the worksheet for this session in the show notes. But for your next trip, write down 1 to 3 words to capture your travel intention, and let these words guide you. So, case in point, I am going for 6 weeks to Central and South America. One of my intentions, one is to take some Spanish, so Spanish immersion. Two is engage the city. So I'm going to be in Mexico City, but also beach life. I just kind of want to spend a couple weeks where I can walk to the beach and relax. I'll be in Costa Rica. And another one is I want to be on the lookout for property, um, because I want to have property at several places in the world, right? And the third, another one is to see where in the world there might be a home for me as I look for property, as I look for a second home, right? You see those intentions? I already set out those intentions. I know what I want to do, so that is going to shape the contours of my trip, and it also shape where I want it to go. Number two, have cultural curiosity and respect. So be curious, learn, don't look. Learning about a place, a history, the language behind the Instagram highlights. So you have to be curious, and that relates to connection too, right? So when I go on tours, I ask my tour guides, where are we going, what we doing, tell me about the local culture. I'm peppering them with questions about the culture, or just to get some insights, right? Where should I go? What should I do? What are the best restaurants? What do the locals do? Like, I went to Honduras, and I'm like, where is the beach that the locals go to? Like, I'm fine with the touristy beach. Those type of questions. An example is I was in Kyoto on my around the world trip, and I this is when couch surfing was big, so I'm dating myself. So I went in on couch surfing, but that's just not to stay. Not it's not just to stay with people. You could also then use couch surfing to connect with people. So another thing. So we connected and we spent a whole day, and we went rather than wandering around Kyoto alone. I was with a friend. She showed me the markets. I asked her questions. It was the beginning of the year, and so the new year in Shintoism, which is the one of the religions there, is really big. So she explained everything to me. We went to different ceremonies, and it was just a wonderful experience. So I would highly suggest to or facilitate these type of experience, go on food, neighborhood, or culture tours and ask good questions. Be curious. Best place to find tours, Airbnb experience, TripAdvisor, a Viator. You could also go, there's a travel organization called Servas, Servas, and you can do the same thing like how I did with Naomi to connect with people that are locally who want to connect with travelers. I've also met people in Facebook groups and Instagram that we clicked and we met up with. So just be curious and ask questions. People are generally open. So for your next trip, pick one of these, right? Three questions about the place that you like to answer on that trip. Learn three phrases in a local language. Visit 2 to 3 sites. Read an article about some cultural aspect of that place. Look up some cultural practices, festivals, or sites, or research a local food or custom you want to learn about and experience. So, for your next trip, choose one of these. And remember, we're building a plan. So, you set your intention, now choose something that is engaging the culture and curiosity that you would want to do for your next trip. And then what cultural activities do you like most, right? Those are a great way to connect with people. Tour guides is where I start with. So there's always free walking tours. So whatever city you're going to, say free walking tours, TripAdvisor, Airbnb Experience, and Viator. They're going to have all these tours for your next trip. What pick two that you want to go to? You want to go a food tour? Do you like to eat? Art exhibits, murals, music events. There's time out somewhere. So when I was in this time out Mexico City, it's on Instagram, and it's just like, what are all the things to do while you're in that city? So when I was in Dakar last year, they have time out Dakar, and every day of the week they post like 4 or 5 events that's going on. So you don't even have to look. There are so many Instagram sites like that. You just go on Instagram and TikTok and say what's going on in this place, or do a Google search. But pick something you want to do. 2 activities for your next trip: language or cooking schools, homestays, or Airbnb. You can also have Airbnbs where you're staying with somebody if you want to engage. I'm going to try that for my next Airbnb trip. It'll be interesting. You can go to local markets and shops, spiritual ceremonies. I'll share a couple of my favorite ones: festivals, parades. Some people even like to volunteer or do service. There's tons of organizations. When I volunteered about 15 years ago, I volunteered with an organization called the International Volunteer Headquarters. They have the most affordable volunteer experiences I saw. But you can also ask friends. There are nature and eco tours. So these are the type of activities that help you engage cultures, help you meet locals. But on tons of tours, I've actually met people that I continue to hang out with on my trip because you're traveling solo, I'm traveling solo. Or we meet up on the next tour that we're going to go on, or we just have a really good time on that tour. One tour when I was in Cartagena, Colombia, we it was just me and this other guy. We had a great time. We didn't get to hang out after that, but it was like, oh, I met a friend on this tour. We connected. Another tour and in Cartagena, but a different tour. We went to the Palenque. I met people that are from the same area I grew up in Long Island. So I'm always connecting with people and culture. So it didn't even feel like I was going on those tours alone. It felt like I was going with an old friend because I was open to those experiences. So book those tours. It'll help you engage with local culture. 3, community and connection. So, for a richer journey, always connect with people. This is kind of just building on what I was already talking about. Whether it's lasting or fleeting relationships, connect with people. I turn on my dating apps while I'm traveling, and I've had some of my best dates while I'm traveling internationally. Or I'm just open, like, oh, I met somebody, let's have dinner, let's hang out, particularly if it's another woman traveling solo. But I've always gone on different dates. Having a festival that you're going to or some type of event helps be a buffer, or visiting a friend. So recently, early this year, I wanted to go back to Colombia. I went to the Festival of the Diaspora, which is in Medellin, Colombia. The whole purpose, in festivals or conferences, people are coming from all over to come to this place, so they're open to connection. So it was a local conference. I met people there from all over, but I also met expats that were staying in Medellin, and they were great. And we hung out for the rest of the 2 weeks of my trip. So examples are Gringo Tuesdays, festivals, salsa classes, cooking classes, spiritual retreats, dance. So if you want to go somewhere and you're like, oh, I don't want to go by myself, is there a conference? Is there a festival you can go to? Because people are usually open to meeting other people. You can also Google, like, oh, there is, particularly if you're a Black traveler, there's a bunch of Black traveling groups. For women, there are different groups that you could join. That is a bunch of solo women traveling. Go to Google and it'll help you out. But here's a couple exercises that I'm going to suggest. Pick one for your next trip. Ask friends for a connect. So when I was where was I going? And well, even when I went to Colombia, every trip, do you know anybody here? Connect me. Oh, when I went to Senegal, I put it on LinkedIn and I said, I'm going here. If you know anybody in these places, please connect me. I made a wonderful connection. We stayed connected the whole 6 weeks that we were there with this young lady. I visited her because she lived in a city 4 hours north. We took a road trip. It was great. Find a Facebook group to join. There's a Facebook group, expats, travelers, to wherever you want to go. Go there, ask questions, the best hotels, the best tours, other people trying to engage. When I was going to Bali, I joined Black in Bali. I met up with 3 or 4 different people that were solo women travelers there. We had lunch. One woman I met up with about 4 or 5 times. We had lunch, we had dinner, we went on different tours together, we visited temples. So Facebook groups are great. And then those Facebook groups can connect you to WhatsApp group, right? Ask your host or tour guide about their life, or share a story of your own. Pepper them with questions. What tour should I go on? If I'm here for this amount of time, what do you suggest I do? They may actually have a tour that they would recommend, or a local food stop. Google local festivals that may be happening during your next trip, or in a location you want to go to, and then you can make it your next trip. Visit or invest in a local nonprofit or business, like you want to go to a particular restaurant, depending on your interests, like you want to do ecotourism, whatever. And then take a dance, cooking, or a food class or tour, and ask 3 questions of your guide. I'm going to give you some homework. The next, number 4, is sustainability. Be impactful. Be mindful of your impact. So you want to be mindful on the earth, the local economy, and community. Travel in a way that is most restorative. How you move, how you sleep, where you shop. Right? Are you supporting local businesses? Are you leaving a light of footprint? A good example of this, I have a podcast called Black Beyond Borders. The first episode is up on YouTube already, so I'll be updating it. It's on all podcast networks, as well as I'll be putting those episodes on YouTube. But anyway, she's an expat. She moved to Colombia, and she just gave me some of her tips of, like, limited use of Airbnb. So Airbnb takes apartments off the market that would be affordable, and they make them accessible to tourists, which increases the prices of local real estate and rental. So just be mindful of using those, stay in hotels where you can, or do a mix. She actually said, instead of going and being extractive with a local culture, she offered something. So she offered English lessons to local folks because she wanted to build connections, right? That's a skill she had, where folks, if you learn English internationally, a lot of times it makes you more marketable for jobs and different experiences. She facilitates cookouts and connections between locals and Afro Colombians. She was a Black woman. She connected on Facebook. She has a WhatsApp group that she introduced me to, Black in Colombia, Black Women in Colombia. Then there's another one called Black Women in Cali. So these Facebook groups and WhatsApp groups are the move. And then she guides tours that connect, right? And so she wanted to make experiences that were impactful from both sides. Go on tours that are off the beaten path, or neighborhood tours. So even when I was in Medellin, I went to the neighborhood tour, Community 13 that people always went to, but I also went on tours that were basically off the beaten path. I went to this neighborhood tour. It was led by a local activist and a community group, and so I got a different perspective from this touristy um, uh, this touristy experience. So your exercise there is pick two of these from your next trip. Shop local, walk, bike when possible. Right. So decrease. You're already flying there. Your carbon footprint. Use a reusable water bottle and bag. So water bottle if the water is good there, of course, but also bags. So plastic bags or even paper bags. I have a reusable travel bag. I actually have two that friends have brought with me. I just put it in my suitcase. So when I need a bag, or even I'm going shopping or doing something like that, I have a bag. So less plastic, less cutting down trees is better for everybody. Stay in locally owned accommodation. So bed and breakfast, Airbnb. So your money is not right. There's so many Airbnbs where the people live in other places and the money's going out of that place. Like, make sure you're spending money local. Reuse and reduce. So, particularly when you're talking about towels and sheets, do you need your bed to be cleaned every night? Right? That's going to save water. Turn off the lights, turn off the AC when you're leaving your hotel room and things like that. Particularly because air conditioning and the grid in other places is just not as strong or extravagant as ours, right? And so you really have to pay attention to. I don't need my stuff cleaned that much. I don't need my every 3 days I will have them if I'm staying in a hotel do that, and I always turn off the lights, always turn off the AC. It'll take 10 to 15 minutes to warm up to cool off when I get back. It'll be fine. Eat at family run restaurants instead of change. And then ask yourselves, how can I travel in a way that leaves this place better? Lastly, inner growth. Be present and reflect and grow. I'm all about it. Like, what are these experiences doing for you and how did they change with you? Because it's not just about connecting locally, it's about connecting with yourself, right? So how do you use these experiences you have to prompt and mirror and take away something that's teach you? Good example, when I was in Costa Rica, right? I'm single, so I was watching couples. This is 15 years ago. And it made me pause and reflect on my own desire for love and companionship and my aloneness at the moment. When I was in Cusco, being the only black person that was in my volunteer placement on that same trip 15 years ago shaped how I saw race and belonging, right? My feelings about that, right? In South Africa, I walked in the land of apartheid and or previous apartheid, and then I considered what reconciliation means, right? So I'm always saying, what is this experience teaching me about myself, about the world, and life lessons that I can learn? So your exercise here is choose a growth practice for your next trip. Journal once a day, literally count your blessings at the end of the day or what you're grateful for. Find joy, God, or love daily, right? Just journal about it. Pause and reflect at the sunset. Usually, when I'm traveling, I never do this at home. I get up early and watch the sunrise, and I try to catch a sunset everywhere I go. And ask yourself, what did this place, and what did this experience teach me about myself, others, in the world? So, what about you? What of these five conscious travel pillars really connected with you? And think about a moment that connected with one of these pillars in a travel experience you already had. So, quickly, I'm going to go through to change it up my five biggest tour types that I love for cultural experience and connection. One, you have to go on food tours. I love street food. I love the you can go to a food, a market, a chocolate. I've done bar tour, brew tours, cocktail tours, juices, ice cream, healing, herbs, whatever. Look on TripAdvisor, Airbnb Experience, and Viator for these particular tours, right? Always go on a food tour. My number two thing to do or advice to connect, take lessons. These are people that are also in the midst of learning. So you're going to meet people there and you're going to meet your guides and they're going to be fun. Dance lessons. I've taken salsa lessons. I've taken cooking lessons when I was in Thailand, in Bali, in China. You can take surf lessons or different kind of sports lessons, pottery making, or other makers and crafts if that's the kind of person you are. Bali, Thailand, and China were some of my best food lessons that I took, or cooking lessons. You can see me here. This is everything that I made while I was in Bali. Number three, cultural sites or tours. I love these things to engage cultural rites in sites and tours. So again, festivals, historical, spiritual, or sacred sites, or dance and performances. When I was in different when I was in Bali, I went on a temple tour and we had this whole washing and rebirth ceremony. I put on a sarong and just went to about seven different fountains, right, and dunked my body in water as a cleansing. When I was in Cuba, I went on this Afro-Cuban spirituality tour, which connected to spirituality from West Africa and synchronism. And so this is a tour. I mean, this is a picture of me there with a babalao there, and really going on this cleansing experience. So Google cultural tour in the next city that you are going to visit, and you will not be disappointed. Number four, look for festivals. I said this already. When I was in Senegal, I went there at the particular time I went there because I wanted to go to this month long contemporary African art festival called the Biennale, right? The Black travel movement, which I'll probably go to in November, is in Rio, right? I want to connect with other Black travelers. I have a podcast about the sexuality of Black women. There's Adventures in the Bedrooms of African women. They have a conference every year. That's going to be in Kenya, right? So these festivals, I already told you about the Festival of the Diaspora. That's usually in the Americas. That was in Medellin. We'll see. I think it's going to be in Mexico this year. So these things draw you in, right? Or Afrochella, whatever, Essence, whatever. That's here, but there's things that you can go to that'll be provide fun. Also, level of connection. You're going to meet other people that are also traveling. You're going to be locals that are involved there, and it's going to be really a lot of fun. A resource is go to ABC Travel Network. It's a website, and they have like all of the festivals, Afro Afro Descendant Connection festivals around the world that are happening each month. So that's really cool. Or you can join the Black Travel Movement, and people, you can go to that festival and connect. But even if you go to the website, you can see who's who in Black Travel. Um, so there you have that. And last, use online platforms to find existing communities. I already talked about this, but I'll say it again. Instagram, in, postings for influencers for your desired location, Facebook groups, Black expats, and wherever you want to go, or Black in whatever. So I'm going to Mexico. I done joined three groups already: Black in Mexico, Black expats in Mexico. Same thing in Costa Rica. I'm going to go to read Travel Noir, travelnoir.com. They're going to have stories that relate to Black travel or destinations or locations. Email and connect with friends or friends. So anytime I go anywhere, I say, "Oh, have you been here?" Or usually people are asking me that. "Have you been here? Do you know any friends there? Who can you connect with me?" My friend's been to Rwanda a couple times, and I said, "Oh, I want to go to Rwanda. Get me your give me your advice. Let me know to connect with people." And she was like, "Oh, I have somebody in Rwanda I know. I have somebody in Tanzania I know. Love to connect you via email." And here are some examples of different groups. You can also listen to podcasts or things like that. There's a travel on points group. If you want to learn more about how to travel on points, this is expats in Senegal and other things. Exodus Summit is good for Black women that are thinking about moving abroad, or just Black people, but specifically Black women. Black Travel Movement, if you want to go to their conference, all about travel influencers and connecting with traveling abroad. Travel Africa Movement, they have an Instagram page. Blacks at Global just interviews and engages people that have decided to move abroad, and you hear their stories. You can also listen to my podcast called Black Beyond Borders, where I'm interviewing Black people, namely mostly Black women, but Black people that have decided to move abroad, and you can get tools, tips, and their particular stories about how they decided to move abroad, everywhere from West Africa to back to the Caribbean, all different places. So, what about you? What from what I said most resonated with you, and what is one idea you're inspired to implement? Let me know in the comments. So, I'm here talking to my screen, but would love to talk to you. And if you want to connect, stay connected to work that I'm doing, Please go to, this is going to be a solo travel school series. It's free for now. But connect. I'm going to do a session 3 on gems for my journey. So it's going to be my favorite sites, tours, and locations from the 5 continents I've been to. So my top 10 experiences, locations, if you want to build your travel bucket list and talk to somebody who's done that. So you can subscribe to this channel. I have 2 trainings already. My first one is part 1 and part 2, how to solo travel. So all my solo travel tips. This session and the next one will be gyms. So subscribe here. Follow me at Ebony Around the World on TikTok and Instagram. TikTok is where I'll be having my most up to date like travel experiences and tips in short form. Listen to my podcast, Black Beyond Borders. It's on all podcast networks. You can find the videos here, but also sign up for my newsletter. This is basically a link to my link tree, so you can sign up for new letters. It's called my newsletter. It's called Beyond Borders, where I will talk about and give tools and tips in written form on travel and transformation. You can also find links to this series, and you'll find links to all of the things I mentioned above. But don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Share with a friend that you think might find this interesting. I will see you next time.